Hey everybody, it's Shamika. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share my videos. I appreciate you guys' support. So let's talk about the SBA loans. That will be the EIDL and the PPP. But I'm mostly going to talk about the EIDL, but I do want to make sure you guys understand the difference. First of all, the SBA, Small Business Administration, I've heard so many different names for SBA, but it is Small Business Administration, and they both fund the EIDL, which is the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, and the PPP, which is the I think it's Paycheck Protection. Excuse me, the Paycheck Protection Program. I had a little brain fart right there. So SBA actually pays both of those. What is happening now, so that you guys understand, the EIDL loan is actually administered by the SBA, meaning the money is coming directly from the SBA to you, the business owner, okay? If you got the PPP, the Paycheck Protection, the banks are actually administering the loans. SBA knew there was going to be an influx of individuals applying for loans, and in order to kind of boost the economy or stimulate the economy, they decided to give the money to the banks and allow the banks to facilitate these loans, so that one, these individuals can have a job, two, the banks can make money as well, and three, it gives the SBA employees a little bit of a break, because if you apply for the EIDL loan, I'm sure you saw how long it's taken to process your actual loan, not the grant, but the loan portion of it. So by them giving the work to the banks, it actually was smart. So that is all I'm going to do as far as talking about the EIDL and the PPP, just so you can understand they are both SBA loans, but one is administered by banks and one is administered by the SBA. So we're going to talk about the SBA EIDL, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. Yes, this is the same loan that everybody was trying to get the $10,000 grant, and yes, it was paying. Originally, it was going to pay $10,000 to each and every person that applied. All you had to do was put down one employee. There was no requirement. I'm sorry, I'm trying to turn my volume down over here. There was no requirement at the time, but now, I'm going to even say now, almost immediately as they put out the information stating that they were going to give individuals $10,000, they immediately changed it and said, oh no, never mind, it's now going to be $1,000, and $1,000 up to $10,000, and that's if you have 10 employees, so $1,000 an employee. So that is why so many people were lying on their application, because in the beginning they were giving out 10, and then the SBA decided to change those rules and just give out 1,000. So if anybody wants to know where that came from, that is actually how it started, all right? Then the SBA decided to also change the rules again and say if you are an individual who is denied for credit, then you do not get the extra $1,000 grant, but that was after some time in June. So every couple weeks something was changing. So if you guys had a hard time keeping up, don't feel bad. It has happened to everybody. But what I wanted to talk about is some of the facts about the loan that you may not have known about, okay? So with the grant, as it stands right now, there is no more grant money, so you cannot apply for that anymore. But if you have already received the grant, I can tell you that right now it is nowhere written in stone stating what is going to happen at tax time. Now, in previous years when SBA has given out injury disaster loans just like this one, they did make it a requirement for the individuals to put the grant money or to claim that on their taxes the following year. But right now there is nothing in black and white, so we don't know how that's going to be handled. So make sure you guys stay tuned to my page so that you can find out what's going to happen coming up, okay? If you're an individual who got offered the loan, okay, and it shows on the screen that you are confirmed, that means nothing, folks. It is going to take anywhere from a few days up to 30 days for SBA to do their final checks, and I'll explain what their final checks are. But they're doing their final checks to make sure that you are a verifiable business and all of those other slew of things that they check for before they release the funds to you. So if you see someone has gotten their money before you. It doesn't mean that something you did was wrong. It's just each individual loan officer takes their own specified amount of time, and depending on how you apply makes a difference. Okay, so here goes some facts about the EIDL loan that you may not know about. Everybody was tripping about individuals charging for filling out the applications. I absolutely think it was a waste of time to pay someone to fill out the applications, especially if they're guaranteeing you that you're going to receive a certain amount of funds. That part is fraud, and that is a lie. No one can guarantee you any money from the SBA loan. But what they can do is they can charge you up to $2,500 for the EIDL loan to help fill out that application. Now, that comes directly from the disaster handbook. It states that an individual can charge that amount, but what they have to do in order to make it legit is it has to be reported. If you looked on your EIDL application on the last page before you put your banking information, it asks you if anyone helped you with your application. They ask you that because yes, you can help someone, and yes, you can charge them up to $2,500, but they want to make sure that it's documented so that makes it legal. So number one, you can be charged to fill out a loan application up to $2,500 for the disaster loans, okay? Number two, if you move and you receive this actual application, so say you go from confirmed and you actually got a message back from SBA telling you that it's now time to sign your documents. You can sign your loan closing documents, and after you sign that, the money goes into your account within 3 to 5 business days. If you move, after you take that money, you have to notify the Small Business Administration. That is in your closing document. So if you did not read your closing documents, I would actually encourage every single person to actually email the Small Business Administration, the disaster customer service, and ask them for a copy of the closing documents, because you don't get a copy to your email unless you saved it. But it does specify in there that if you move, you must let them know, okay? So that's number two. You have to let them know before you move. Number three, if you have any other federal debts, you must be current on them or you will automatically get a denial. So, student loans, if you're not current, and when they say current, they mean 60 days or more, you will get a denial. Now, the great part about this is SBA does allow you the opportunity to do a reconsideration for almost anything. So if you are late on your federal debts and you can explain why, because it's because of the coronavirus also, or work situation, or whatever it may be, they do allow you the opportunity to request a reconsideration, and you have to explain your situation to see if they'll give you an opportunity to possibly waive that late that you have with your federal debts. But that is something that you guys need to know. You cannot be late with any other federal debts, all right? Number four, you can apply more than one time. You can apply with your SSN as a sole proprietor. You can also apply with your EIN as an actual business, whether that be an LLC, a corporation, or a nonprofit. Okay, so if you happen to have more than one business, can you apply more than once? Absolutely, you can. All you have to do is you have to be able to justify where that money was spent, or how you went through some type of economic injury due to the coronavirus, in order to substantiate getting that money for the additional loan. But absolutely, you can apply more than one time. So that is something that a lot of people do not know. All right, let's go on to our next one. So this should be number 5 now. All right. Organizing businesses are eligible. So a lot of people may not understand what that means, but that means is if you are not an official business, meaning you're not legit with your state, you don't have your articles of organization and all of those type of things, the SBA does not deem you ineligible. You can apply as a sole proprietor, and if you feel that the injury was done to your business as you were getting ready to start it up, meaning you went out and you bought things, you bought curtains for this building that you're leasing, you bought your printer, your computer, you bought paper, you bought all these things, and you have this inventory, these things that you have spent your money on, but now because of the coronavirus, you're not able to get that lease, or the building's closed down, or whatever it is. You can apply because you are considered an organizing business, and that does not disqualify you. So no, you don't necessarily have to have your articles of organization, you don't have to be legit, or shall I say signed up with the Secretary of State to make your business legitimate. You can state that you are an organizing business. The only difference is you have to show, if requested, that you have expenditures leading to your startup, and now you want to be compensated for that. Okay. The next thing, number 6. Okay, you can. All right. So I had to read my notes for a second. Okay. So the SBA looks at the IRS's information about you, meaning your federal tax returns, right? They want to see if you filed a Schedule C for your business. The reason they do that is because SBA is trying to determine whether your business is a hobby or is it an actual business. And the best way to show that you are a business and not necessarily a hobby is by making sure that your business has its articles of organization. I'm always stressing the fact that people need to register businesses. Even if you have a side hustle, you have a hobby, whatever it is, make it legit and make it a real business so that no one ever is looking at you and trying to decide if what you do on the side is a hobby or if it's a real business. So in order to take that out, you go and you get yourself registered. But I'm going to tell you, according to SBA's disaster handbook, it states that they are only looking at your tax returns to be able to see if you actually file Schedule C's, which is a profit and loss on your tax returns. Did you actually file anything stating that? They want to know. If you didn't, that doesn't mean that you'll be turned down, but that is something that the SBA does look at. Okay. Number 7, you must be of moral good character. Now, a lot of people did not know this. There's actually somebody I knew actually sent me a screenshot of it, and I actually had to go and look it up, but it is actually one of the disaster codes. And if you are curious about the disaster codes, look below in the link. I'm going to put the link to the disaster handbook so you can actually see how they do the calculations. It states everything that a loan officer is supposed to do in order to determine when it gives you your loan, but it also lists all the disaster codes, the denial codes that lets you know why you were denied, and it goes in a little bit more depth than it does on the letter that you get. Okay, so if you got denied for economic injury, like you didn't substantiate economic injury, well, on the handbook it actually breaks it down a little bit more, and it pretty much states that, hey, you did not put high enough numbers in your cost of goods section and in the revenue box. You did not put enough. If you get something back saying that your credit wasn't good enough, well, your credit has to be at least a minimum of a 620, and SBA is looking on Experian. They're doing a hard pull on Experian to see what your score is. And it states that they don't have to necessarily deny you if you have less than a 620. They are supposed to look at each situation differently. If you have a couple payments that are late here and there, that's not necessarily an automatic denial. They should give you, according to the handbook, an opportunity to explain your situation. So if you got denied for credit and you generally don't normally have bad periods of credit or bad payment histories, you just had a bad situation, what happened one time, then I would definitely give them a call and ask for consideration. All right, so back to you must be of moral good character. Yes, absolutely, they're going to look at your criminal history. They're going to check your child support records. If you don't pay your child support on time, that is considered someone that is not of good character. Someone who's been to prison, incarcerated, that's considered someone who is not of more good character. That doesn't mean that in real life. That just is what the government has specified. And, if you are denied for that, absolutely go back and ask for a reconsideration. I actually had that individual that got that code ask for a reconsideration, or why did I get this code? And come to find out, they actually coded the person wrong, and it was a mistake, and it all worked out. So if you get that, don't settle on that. Make them explain to you why they gave it to you. Okay. The next thing, child support. I mentioned that before, but you can't owe child support if you are 60 days or later in child support. That is a denial. They do check the system. That is a part of the process. When I say to do their final checks, when they give you that confirmed offer and they're waiting from the confirmed to go into your bank account, a lot of people don't get that money because once they do the final checks, they start to see other things about you that they didn't do in the beginning, which is why now your loan went from confirmed to declined, or you got offered a lesser amount or what have you. Okay. So it cannot be any later than 60 days for child support, okay? And that is only if you use your social security number. I found this out to be pretty neat. And this is in the disaster handbook, guys. If you are late on your child support, more than the 60 days, you can still get a loan, but you can only get a loan if you apply as a business, meaning you have to use your EIN, not your SSN. Remember, whatever number you put in, whether that be the SSN or the EIN, they're actually doing a background check with that number, and they're pulling your credit reports. If you put your EIN, depending on the loan amount that you get, they actually can pull your business credit reports and take a look at Dun & Bradstreet and see what you have going on. Usually if it's 200,000 or less, and you apply with your EIN, they're still going to pull your personal credit report just like they would if you applied with your SSN. But that is a kind of a workaround if you're an individual who needs that money, but you're having an issue with child support. You can just apply as the business with the EIN versus your social, okay? Another thing, if you have let your flood insurance lapse, that is the reason for a denial. So if you have previously received any SBA loan and you had a requirement to have flood insurance and you let it lapse, you will get an automatic denial for the EIDL. Sorry, folks, that comes from the handbook. I think that's crazy, but it is a fact. So make sure you keep your flood insurance and whatever other insurances they tell you that you need to keep on your property in case you got a home loan or anything like that. Keep those insurances active, because if you don't, you may not be able to re-borrow at a later time, okay? Another thing, if you participated, and this is especially important with all of the Black Lives Matter and all of these things that's going on right now. So if you guys don't know, the EIDL loan is active until December of 2020. All right, so we have quite a few more months actually to apply. But it states in the handbook that if you participate in a riot or a civil disorder and you got a felony, you are automatically denied. Now, you can request a reconsideration. It seems that they allow you to request a reconsideration for just about anything, but they do allow you to request a reconsideration. But if you do, you are going to have to explain your situation. You're going to have to get fingerprinted, and you're going to have to send all of that stuff in order for them to reevaluate your application. But it generally states that if you're within the 2 years of the time that you got that felony, that more than likely you're going to be denied. So it has to be some type of special extenuating circumstances that you can explain to help you get that loan. But other than that, you're not gonna get it. Okay? Next thing, if you are a parolee or you're on probation, you are denied for the loan. Now, that doesn't mean you can't request a reconsideration. I'm going to say that again. They like to see individuals who are parolees. If you're on probation, they want you to have had been off for at least 2 years. That seems to be a magic number for them, 2 years. But if not, you're going to have to do the same thing. You're going to have to send in a statement with your situation, and you're also going to have to get some fingerprints, and you're going to have to send that up as well. They're going to have to do a deeper check, a deeper federal background check on you in order to determine if you qualify for them to give you any money. All right. Now, I know you guys have probably heard that the loans have like a 3.75 interest rate or a 2.75 interest rate if you're a nonprofit, and the loan period is like 15 to 30 years. And the reason that is because of something called credit available elsewhere. Now, if you're an individual with a 700 credit score, or you're making great money with your cash flow with your business, and you have a lot of assets and stuff like that, that's technically supposed to be wealthier individuals, right? People who necessarily don't need the